You hear Josie singing Les Miserables in the next room?
No.
Just
No.
no.
That might
Okay.
be
No.
might be
Nice if we
more.
could, but
Yeah, it
no.
might be more entertaining.
Boom, 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 boom. Four men in a wormhole. Welcome to Four Men in a Wormhole. This is episode 2 of our latest season, which I think is technically season 3 because we had a season 1. We then kind of had a season 2 that just became a sort of a bunch of special one off episodes because we could never get our act together. And now we're attempting to have a real season, and we're going to call that season 3. And this is episode 2 of it. And we're doing something a little bit different today. We're going to be covering a few things to look out for in the coming month. And then also, we're going to do a retrospective discussion, which will probably go over a couple of episodes on Marvel. We're about to go into phase 6, or we have started phase 6, I should say, with a Fantastic Four movie. But before we talk about Fantastic Four, I thought it would be a good idea to go back in time and work out how we got here. We're not reviewing each and every single movie, but we're going to discuss the highlights and the lowlights from each phase. And joining us, as always, are my fellow wormies, starting with the one and only Adam Leach. Hello.
Hello, hi Stephen, hi everyone. Good to be back in the wormhole.
It's good to have you back. And also in the wormhole is Simon Cohen. Hello, Simon.
Hey Stephen. Hey guys. Good to see you all.
Hi Simon.
Good to see you too, Simon. Love the cap. Don't know if that's because you've got a bad hair day or it's because we're discussing Marvel. That's for those of you only listening to the show. Is that a Captain America hat?
It is a Captain America hat. He's my favorite of the superheroes. And also, when my nephew was like 2 or 3 years old, I actually convinced him that I was Captain America. So I kind of feel an affiliation to the man himself.
That's good. And just for those who are listening and not watching, when I say Captain American hat, he's wearing a baseball cap with the logo on. He's not wearing the actual sort of face mask of Captain America because that would be actually I say that'd be strange. Maybe that's what you were wearing when you convinced your 2 year old that you were Captain America.
No, I feel like I need to
Um,
go and get one now.
yeah. And then also joining us is the one and only Tal Silverman. Hello,
Good
Tal.
evening, good evening, everyone. Hello. I think I heard the collective sigh of relief from all our listeners when you said we weren't going to be reviewing all of the Marvel films.
No, we've
That's
kind
good
of
call.
done that. We've done that over the last few years as we've gone along, but this is a retrospective, what they've done well, what they've done bad, and all the rest of it. But before we get into the meat and veg of Marvel, let us just call out 3 things that certainly caught my attention and get any reaction from the 3 of you if you do have a reaction to 3 things that caught my eye that are essentially, I think, releasing in the next 30 days in the world of sci-fi and fantasy. The first one I think Simon's quite excited about is pluribus or pluribus. I don't know how to say it. Simon, do you want to have a go at saying it?
I think it's Pluribus. I think it's Pluribus, and I did watch it after you mentioned it was coming up, and another friend of mine as well had started watching it and recommended to watch it. We can review it another time, but I do recommend it. It's very good. It's made by the guy that made Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, yeah, I'm going to leave it there, but I recommend going and watching it. 2 episodes in, looks like fun.
I think we can give the general gist of it, at least from the preview type of stuff, so without doing spoilers. I haven't actually watched it, so I can't give away a spoiler. But when you watch the trailer, it comes across as well. You'll probably say it's not this, but um, almost Truman Show-esque, but inversed, where something's happened to everyone in the town where she lives, and they've all sort of become really nice and something's happened to them, but she's the one that stayed normal. So she's kind of in a fake environment, except that it's because everyone around her has changed or something. Is that the
Yeah,
general
yeah.
the
So
general gist?
it's not giving away spoilers because it all happens quite quickly at the beginning, but there's some kind of virus or technology that hits everyone on Earth at the same time, and everyone are still themselves, but they're also one. They're like connected, a bit like the Borg, sort of hive mind. But yes, she and actually apparently there are a few others as well that aren't affected. And yeah, that is indeed the premise. I don't know yet because I've only watched a couple of episodes where it's some kind of alien invasion or something. That I have no idea. Yeah, come back to me in a few weeks and I'll know a bit more.
But certainly one you're already recommending, and the trailer looked really good. Well, what are you looking forward to, Adam?
Well, I'm quite looking forward to the remake of The Running Man.
Has
That's, I
had
think,
dreadful reviews. Hate to blow your
in
bubble.
cinema. No, I know. I was kind of quite looking for it, and I kind
No,
of.
no, no. By the way, I want to see it. I mean, I'll probably wait till it's on. I mean, what was it I saw recently? Tron Ares had not particularly
Oh
good
yeah,
reviews,
yeah.
and I really enjoyed that. So I think sometimes, yeah, these movies can be quite enjoyable, and you mustn't let the reviews get you down.
Well, one of those, yeah, for both of those actually, because my, yeah, I hadn't actually ever watched Tron. So I recently watched Tron, which I feel like is like a guilty secret and like the reverse of a guilty pleasure. But yeah, I also, in Come Up to Running Man, rewatched The Running Man, which I love, which is great. And so I was looking forward to seeing what they did with the remake. But yeah, we'll see what.
Yeah.
See
All
how
the
they do.
trailers make it look quite funny, actually. Like they've added
The
humor.
trailers are good. The trailers are
Yeah,
good, but it could be one of those, how they do it. The trailer being excellent, but the film being that's it. You've
not so
seen
good.
everything you need to see.
I still can't
Well,
decide whether I have a real issue with remakes or not. I don't know. I mean, obviously it depends on the remake, but I just think I don't know. I just find it a bit of a cop out.
Well, do you know? What I thought that there was a glimmer of hope with this is that it was less of a remake and more of a sort of reinterpretation of the book because obviously there's a book of the Running Man written by Richard Bachman, who's actually Stephen King,
That's
pen name
thinking, yeah.
Stephen King, and they adapted for the original Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. They adapted it so that it was within this kind of sort of the studio. The whole thing is like a fake TV show, and there's a studio that it all goes off in. Whereas the book is about him actually running out in the world. So the 2025 Running Man is actually more faithful to the source material. So I thought, well, okay, that could be quite interesting then. That it could be, I don't know what they call that, like a reinterpretation or a remake.
yeah,
But
but if you think about it, no one goes to see Shakespeare and go, "Oh, I've seen this before." I mean, plays, whether it be
yeah,
Shakespeare or other plays, they're reinvented all the time. So
yeah,
actually, I don't think
yeah.
there's any harm with reinventing things
No, and
in
the
film.
effects of from 1987 to now. I mean, it's just like it's
Yeah.
just so much different what they can do to bring it to life. So,
Okay.
for
Okay.
years
So
though, I didn't watch Hunger Games because I just thought it was just a rehash of Running Man.
Four men in a wormhole.
anyway, moving on to something imminent is a Stranger Things season 5. Guys, are we excited about Stranger Things season 5? It's the end, yet they're already telling us there'll be a spin-off. So, is it really the end? So, yeah,
Is season 4 worth watching? Because I kind of stopped after 3.
yeah. I don't think it's been a bad season. Season 4's definitely, and it ended on a cliffhanger. So season 5 is exciting, at least if to me it is. Simon, were you into Stranger Things?
Do you know what? I think I gave up halfway through season 3. I can't
I think
remember
I watched all.
why.
Was season 3 the 80s one, or was that the one
It's
after?
all A to Z. It's all
No, but the one that went really overboard with
viral with
set in the
the.
shopping mall. Was that season 3?
Yeah, I
Uh,
think it was.
I
Yeah.
have a confession. I
Yeah,
gave up
I think I
after
watched
series
that one.
one.
I think I watched that one, season 3. So
So Stephen's the only one watching this.
Yeah, clearly. Even though it's like the biggest watch thing on Netflix, the three of the four men in a wormhole on a sci-fi chat channel doesn't watch it. That's amazing. That's mind-blowing. Our audience will clear, especially the French people, will clearly abandon us at this point. Well, I'll just move on. And I don't think any of you watched this, but I do think you should have, because a lot of people said it was some of the best TV, a bit like Andor, whether you're into the source material or not, was the Fallout season 2. So Fallout is the famous video game,
I
and
watched Fallout.
yes,
Fallout
I
one.
thought you
Yeah.
did, and you enjoyed it, didn't
Yeah, I
you?
did.
Well,
Really enjoyed it. I was looking forward to the second one. Yeah, I'm looking forward
yeah.
to it.
Adam and Simon, were you either of you ever? Were you? I mean, what did we? We've not aired a show for like 2 years. You've had plenty of time to watch it. Now you've got your homework for next week. The whole of season 1 of Fallout.
I watched the beginning part of it,
Well, it's
and
better than watching the middle by itself.
yeah, I watched it. I didn't get through the whole thing. I kind of quite liked it, but I can't really remember why I
It does perk
didn't.
up. It's good. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
it gets really.
I watched The Fall Guy. Is that the same thing?
No, it's quite different.
Okay.
I've watched that as well. I quite
It was
enjoyed
good,
it.
wasn't it?
Yeah, Fallout was one of the highest rated sci-fi shows of the last 10 years.
Do we need to? Do we need to rebrand?
I think, well, no, I think you just need to go and watch it. Anyway, so those are three of the things. Or one other thing that is coming out, but I don't think it's coming out the next month. I think it's either coming out in December or early next year. Is the next part of the Three Body Problem on Netflix?
Oh, right. Well, I did watch that,
I know you did.
and I did read the book of the
I
Yes.
read it. I read the book as well. It's good.
Yes, I
the-
watched the original one on Netflix. What I have not watched is the Chinese one, which is also meant to be very, very, very good.
Well, the original, because the book is like
Chinese.
it's all based in China, and all
Yeah.
the characters are Chinese.
Yeah, it's translation, isn't it?
Yeah, so yeah, the book is translated, and then the Netflix series is kind of adapted, because I think all the being based in Oxford and all of that is all just part of the
Yeah.
TV show.
But I think the original Chinese one is also on Netflix or on Amazon. I forget which one.
Yeah.
It is
And
around.
yeah, and it's meant to be very good. But anyway, so the next part of that's coming up. So there's, if you are into sci-fi, there's definitely some really exciting stuff coming up in the next period of time. There's also some Star Trek stuff, but I think we'll maybe talk about that on the next show.
Four men in a wormhole.
So let's get into the meat and veg of the discussion, which is Marvel. There was a time before the Marvel Universe. Can anyone actually remember seeing any Marvel films before what we know to be the Marvel Universe? Anyone remember seeing any films?
Oh yeah, I used to watch the Incredible Hulk, like the series and the movies. I used to watch that when I was a kid. And I've
Oh,
also
that's
got
a good point. That's a good
yeah,
point. 'Cause you had the TV series,
the
but you
TV series.
did actually have was it a couple or was it one? We had the movie. Oh no, we had two. We had the movie with Eric Banana or whatever his name is.
Eric Banner. Yeah,
Eric Banner, not Banana,
there's David
and then
Banner.
and also Edward Norton. They've been co-opted into the universe, but
Well,
they were
yeah,
never made with the universe in mind.
Yeah, Edward Norton one is part of the MCU, and actually came out. I'm looking at the list now. It came out after.
It was 2008, was it not?
Yeah, it actually came out
Yeah,
after
yeah,
Iron
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So the banana one, that's not part of the universe.
No.
No, it's 2003. That was the one Ang Lee directed, wasn't it? I think. Yeah.
So
Well,
what other Marvel stuff was there
well,
out
there
there?
was all the X-Men stuff. I mean, that was the main kind of superhero movies were all the X-Men movies, which I wasn't into.
2001, I think. Did they
Yeah,
start?
it was all kind of early millennium stuff with Wolverine and all of that.
Which is interesting because actually, if there hadn't been the X-Men movies demonstrating the appetite, maybe we would never have got the Marvel movies made by Marvel themselves, if that makes sense.
Well, and
Because the X-Men
Spider-Man,
movies,
and Spider-Man as well. Sort of.
Yeah.
All the Spider-Man movies made it. Well, most of the Spider-Man movies made a lot of money, and definitely showed there was an appetite for superhero movies. At that time, they weren't being made by Marvel, and actually, they're still kind of not being made by Marvel. But I think that was, if it wasn't for the Spider-Man movies, we might not have a Marvel Cinematic Universe. There were other movies because, and I didn't see them at the time, but when I got into Daredevil, the TV series, I did go and watch. There was at least one Daredevil movie. There was a spin-off. Or maybe there were two Daredevil movies, and
there
there was
was
a spin-off with
Ben
Elizabeth.
Affleck. There was the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. There was also the dreadful Green Lantern movie with what's his name?
Oh, yeah.
Deadpool.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. I did see that. Yeah.
I didn't see that. I never seen that. I mean, I think
Hang
I've
on,
seen it since.
that's is that the Green Lantern's DC though? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yes, good point.
Yes,
Good point. Yes. Yeah. So there was the Daredevil movie. What were there any other TV shows? I mean, obviously there's the old Spider-Man TV show from the 1970s. I watched that as a kid.
Yeah.
There was only ever one season of that. There was only ever one season because it was a bit of a flop. But I mean, and of course there was DC movies,
Yes.
like all the Batman movies.
Yeah.
So clearly there's been an appetite, but I think you've hit it on the head. Without the Spider-Man movies or the X-Men movies, we wouldn't have had probably the massive investment that Disney has put into the Marvel universe as we know it today. There were anyone here before we get into Phase One? Anyone here remember the actual original Captain America movie? Or maybe it's not the original, but it's one from the 1980s. Anyone seen it?
No, I've not seen that.
No, don't remember that. Don't recall that.
Terrible movie. terrible, terrible movie. So it's not like they didn't have goes at things,
Oh yeah.
but if you go and Google it or find it on YouTube, yes, it's these are movies devoid of special effects, which takes all the superhero-ness away from it in many respects, because it is literally just men in lycra.
Fantastic Four as well. This is the one we've just had. It's like the third incarnation of it. And I think the first couple of movies were before the MCU, around the time of the X-Men, I think. So
I think that's a really good point as well. Yeah, again, they've never quite stuck, but yes, they were throwing money at those ones as well. So that's really interesting. But then at some point, Disney and Marvel got together, or Disney bought Marvel, and they started to invest in what we now know to be the Marvel Universe. And so they divided it up into phase one and phase two. Can anyone here remember? Because I can't. Was it always planned to be in phases, or was that something that they essentially started to do after I mean, the first movie was Iron Man, and that
Yes.
was a clear success. But was there always a phase plan, or was that something that came with hindsight once they
I
realized what they
I
had?
don't think that there was a long-term plan because they didn't know whether Iron Man would be a success or not. And I think that it was after sort of the success of Iron Man and then probably Iron Man 2, because those were the first two movies really in the MCU that suddenly thought, hang on, we've got something here, we can start to flesh it out. And I think then and one of the Iron Man movies I think had Samuel Jackson coming in a post-credit scene and meeting Iron Man and Tony Stark, and that probably at that point was when they started to think, hey, we can do something here. People are interested. They're coming to the cinema. They're paying to go and see the movie, and they're enjoying it. So I think it was there probably was a if we can make this successful, we can probably lead up to an Avengers movie. I think that was probably on the cards, but I doubt that there was all these phases that were planned at that point.
And
I'm
I certainly at the time was, I think I enjoyed Iron. I remember seeing Iron Man at the time, but I don't think I really got into it in phase one. I probably saw Iron Man and Iron Man 2, like as and thought, oh, Iron 2, that's a bit not as clearly not followed the normal kind of sequel thing. Well, okay, right, Iron Man's quite interesting. Iron Man 2, yeah, just not as good.
Yeah, I'm struggling to. It's a bit like when you can't. It's like having a childhood memory and whether you remember it because there was a photo of it or whether you actually experienced it. But I'm trying to remember because the thing is, I binge watched all of the Marvel films with my kids in the space of a few weeks. We watched everything right up to Endgame, from like Iron Man to Endgame. So I'm now struggling to remember what I saw first time around. I think I did see probably. I definitely remember going to see like Iron Man. I think I went to the cinema for a few of them as well.
I can confirm. I
Yeah,
can confirm that Stony Hawk, um, Samuel L. Jackson's character. What's his name? Um,
Nick
Samuel.
Fury.
Yeah, thank you. Nick
Are
Fury
we
yeah,
is
doing? Do I get a point for that? Are we
Hang on,
doing?
where's my
We're
bell?
doing a quiz.
doing a quiz. Nick Fury turns up at the end of Iron Man 1
Yes.
and reveals the Avengers initiative.
Yeah.
So they must have had some kind of plan going forward,
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
it was a provisional plan based upon whether it was a box office success.
At the
But
end of phase one, we've got the Avengers, and then did we? I'm trying to remember. We've also phase one. We have the Captain America, the first Avenger. But was that done in? Was that done like after the event, and like it's been put like chronologically? Was that
well,
in
this
phase
No.
one?
that goes back in time because that goes to how he became
Yeah,
Captain
like
America,
yeah.
right?
There was
But
just
it
Thor.
ends. But it,
There was the original Thor movie
there
between
was the original
Iron
yeah,
Thor
Man
movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
2
It was
and
a hodgepodge timeline, but Captain
yeah,
America went back in time, in effect. The whole movie's in the past until the
yes,
very end when he wakes up on the street and then runs out of that pretend
apartment. Yeah,
building. And
yeah.
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
again, Nick Fury turns
Nick
up and
Fury.
says, calm down, lad. Now, I've got a question for you. Were you surprised they started with Iron Man? And two, are you surprised in phase one, Thor was in there? I mean, Simon, go for it.
Well, I'm not going to sort of directly answer this question because I actually, this might surprise you, I didn't watch any of them until I saw the Avengers first. I saw the last movie in Phase One first. I remember watching the Avengers for the first time because I watched it on a plane on a little tiny screen, and
Yes.
even on a little tiny screen, like really, you shouldn't be watching it on a little tiny screen. Even on a tiny screen, I was like, "This is interesting. This is good." Like, I didn't really know well because I never read the comics, sort of Iron Man and Thor and Captain America. I'd heard of them, but I didn't know
Yeah.
them well. But I loved the Avengers clearly because it's a great movie, and that made me go back and watch all the others. Like I remember the Iron Man coming out and Thor coming out, but I never went to the cinema. I never watched them until I saw the Avengers. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Went
Yeah.
back and started. So
I agree with that. I remember watching Iron Man, and I think to be honest, I probably saw Iron Man 2 and then the Avengers. And I probably didn't really, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I probably didn't really piece it together as that we're on a journey for whatever. I just thought, okay, the Avengers is obviously a follow on from Iron Man, and I really enjoyed Avengers. But at this point, I think I remember when I got into the MCU, which was, I don't remember, it was basically after watching a Phase 3 movie. So it wasn't really until Phase 3 and Captain America Civil War, which I hadn't watched. So it was some point after it got released. And I spoke to Simon, and Simon was like, "Oh, it's great what they're doing with the MCU, and it all connects, and there's all these movies." And I think I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I think I've seen maybe a couple at that point, but not really into Captain America, and maybe I'd watch Guardians of the Galaxy." But it was really on the rewatch of Civil War, which I think it was Captain America, just I was never into. And like if you kind of grown up in the UK, I don't know, his name's Captain America, it all just seems a bit like, I don't know, a
yeah,
bit twee, and I was a bit like, I don't really, yeah,
But
it's not
but
really my thing
but
to
with
watch Captain
hindsight,
America.
But with hindsight, we're allowed to do hindsight on this podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah.
With hindsight, are you surprised they didn't start with Captain America? And are you surprised that in Phase One, essentially two-thirds of the movie are Iron Man and Thor,
No, I'm
who actually seem like minor. When I say minor characters, obviously they've turned out not to be minor characters. But
yeah.
if you were taking the richness of Marvel Comics, are those the two characters you would end up focusing on to introduce the MCU? I'm putting out there as a question. Tal, have you got any thoughts on this?
I wonder how much they planned ahead into look, because the thing is, like I say, it's the benefit of hindsight, isn't it? I think they just looked at the characters, looked through the comics, and thought, this will make a good film. This will make a good film. And then after maybe doing a couple of films, they were like, oh, actually, yeah, let's, I wonder how premeditated it was that they would have it. It was, or how mapped out it was back then to go all the way up to phase whatever, or released up to phase 3 or 4. I think I don't know, wonder whether, I wonder whether they really even planned it, up that far, or whether it was just a case of, oh yeah, let's do that. And then I guess Captain America kind of works because of the time difference thing, because it is set in the past. You could almost do that anytime. Do you know what I mean? And like, because you're not really sure when it comes to the future. I don't know. There's no real
Well,
tell
it also
around.
explains the history of Shield. Actually, explains where Nick Fury's come from because it explains Shield, and
Yeah.
it links to Tony Stark because obviously Tony's dad is
Yes.
fundamental to Captain America. So there are these nice little overlaps, but
Yeah. It doesn't
actually,
really bother me. It
on that
doesn't. Yeah.
basis, you could have started. You could have started with the Captain America film because then you would have had the dad before the son, and
Yeah. But I
you
don't
know,
think it really. It doesn't bother me that that's the case. I don't think. I think
the
it's
other
not.
link is the I think it's the Tesseract is in which is one of the Infinity Stones is in Captain America, the first Avenger, and in the Avengers. So
Yeah.
I
yeah.
believe it's the same one in both movies.
Yes, that's really good. So look, we're not doing a review of all the movies. So some highlights from Phase One. Even though it's interestingly enough, we've all come to Phase One at different points. I kind of watched them in order. Some of you guys have said essentially you got into it later and then went back to Phase One. Nonetheless, Phase One exists and you have now watched the movies. So some highlights and some lowlights. Tal, any highlights from you from Phase One?
Well, I think, funny enough, we had Captain America on TV the other day. We kids were watching it again. So, and it was very good. But for me, I still feel like Iron Man is the strongest. The Iron Man films, the two Iron Man films that are in Phase One, are the strongest kind of films in that first batch of however many it is, 5, 6, or whatever it is.
Including the Avengers movie.
Oh, it's in well, yeah. I mean, the Avengers movie was a great film as well, actually. To be fair, maybe that was, yeah. I guess that was the last one, wasn't it? In that first phase. So yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Avenger films generally. So I think, yeah, I think probably Iron Man and the Avengers will be, I think, definitely above there. I mean, Thor was good as well. There wasn't a bad film in that first batch.
It was different. The Thor movie was very different. I mean,
Yeah,
Kenneth Branagh was the director. It was had a
yeah. It
very
didn't have the
different
humor
tone.
that it didn't have the
Yeah,
humor. It was trying to be quite
It
serious.
had it
Yeah,
had some humor. There were some funny scenes in it. I remember him sitting in a diner, I think, and ordering around the
oh,
waitress, and
beer.
maybe
Was
even
he? Did
chucking
he?
to drink something and throw the
Yeah,
glass
yeah,
away or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there are some comedy moments, but it was quite Shakespearean as you would expect from Kenneth Branagh.
yeah.
And they obviously kept elements of that in terms of the way that he sort of spoke, but yeah, went more on the comedy side.
Any major missteps in phase one, Simon?
Um, no, it's perfect.
Hmm.
I tell you what I would say. What I would say is in terms of highlights, not really a highlight, but it's Robert Downey Jr. As Tony Stark. Like if it wasn't for him,
Yeah, yeah.
none of this would have happened, right? And Marvel took a risk on him. I think he was like recently out of prison or something,
Yeah, yeah.
apologies if that's wrong. Please don't.
Allegedly,
Not that anyone's watching
allegedly
this anyway.
fresh from. He was still
Um,
on parole when
but he
he
was
started. When they
definitely a
started him
man
off.
that had issues,
Allegedly.
problems, and it was a bit of a risk bringing him in. But he was the perfect person for the role, and he's the kind of sort of actor and character that you can't take their eyes off them when they're on screen, right? You want them to be in every scene. You love everything they say and do, and he was. Amazing in that role. And if it wasn't for him, none of this we wouldn't be talking about this now. So I would say Robert Downey Jr. is a highlight of
Yeah, yeah.
I
Iron
think
Man.
that's an interesting point about that in terms of I think that had a lot to do with the fact that when Doctor Doom was announced, I know we're jumping ahead a bit, just a bit, but when Doctor Doom was announced, why I wasn't as freaked out or as kind of disappointed about the fact that it was Robbie Downey Jr. Because I just think if anyone can do it, he'll do it, and I think it's not. I think it's going to work. Having him because it's him.
Um, I
Actually
think
helps.
I think it's a good point. But one misstep that I think we've kind of tapped on it already is actually there is this Incredible Hulk movie in that group, and ironically, the recent Captain America film with the new Captain America that actually closes that Incredible Hulk film off. Because I remember when we discussed the movie, I said actually it was more about the general whatever his name was than it was about the new Captain America. It was almost finishing his story. But if it wasn't for the most recent Captain America film finishing his story, that Incredible Hulk movie is I don't know where it fits in. I don't know if there's anything weaving into the other stories. It almost feels like a movie that was commissioned before the Marvel universe was put together because they were, as we said, already making Incredible Hulk movies, and then it's been sort of, to use a phrase we said before, segued or maybe forced into the Marvel universe. But I'm not too sure it's really meant to be sitting there at all.
It's not a bad movie though. Like on its own, just as a movie, it's not that bad. And
It's not a bad
it's quite
movie.
good. Like just
Yeah,
on its own, it sits there as a kind of just Incredible Hulk movie. It's not bad.
it's not. But I don't know if it fits in. Like I said, if you with the most recent Captain America film, which the what's it, the red something?
Brave New World.
No, the most recent one.
Yeah, Captain America, Brave New World.
Is it Brave New World? The
Yeah,
one with where the president becomes a
Harrison
red.
yeah,
Ford, yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
thank you. So if it
Is
wasn't
that a
for
second point? Do I get that's? I think I'm
yeah.
winning at the
You
quiz.
want to run. You want to run. You get a free coffee after the next one. So if it wasn't for that movie making sense, well, not making sense, but finishing off the storyline for the
Well,
first
they
one,
kind of brought it in. They kind of made sure it was sort of
yeah.
becomes canon in
Otherwise,
that way.
yeah,
Doesn't it?
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. They've retro, whatever they've called
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
to make it.
Retro canonized it. Is that a
Yes,
thing? Is
yes.
that a thing
Even
that's
though
happened?
technically it is canon because it's part
Yeah.
of the MCU, but like I said, that's for me the only misstep. So anyway, moving on now.
Hang
Let's
on, before we move on, there was one other movie that had a link into the Incredible Hulk. I'm going to put it out there to Adam. Can you remember what it was?
Other movie
Yeah,
subsequently
there was a
passed.
character in the Incredible Hulk that was also in well, actually, it was the bad guy in in the Incredible Hulk that was in another
Oh, really?
Marvel movie.
Yeah, it was the Hulk TV show, wasn't
No,
it?
No,
no,
no, I don't know.
no. So it was is it Abomination? Is that?
Yeah, so Abomination. So
Yes, it was in the
he,
Hulk TV show. That was in the
Uh,
Hulktress. Sorry, She-Hulk, She-Hulk, She-Hulk. She represents him.
yeah,
uh,
yes,
yes, you're
yes,
right. I wasn't thinking of that because
yes.
I get the point.
but I think Abomination. But I was actually thinking you do get a point. But I was actually thinking of I'm pretty sure Abomination pops up in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings as well.
Ah, right,
In
okay.
there's like a wrestling match.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
At the
he does.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That rings a
yeah.
bell.
Oh, by the way,
Give yourself
retcon.
points on.
Thank you.
Adam, it's retconned
Oh,
when you
okay, is a
take
thing, right? Okay,
yes, when you retcon something back in,
right,
it's just called retcon. Anyway, so
okay.
yeah, a good bit of
And before we move on, sorry, and I know we've already moved on before, to the pre-MCU stuff, but was Agents of Shield on Netflix pre-MCU?
So
no,
firstly, Agents of Shield was not on Netflix. Just
Yeah.
to
Oh, okay, right.
it was actually I don't think it was. It was
it
on.
was an Amazon. It was an Amazon show, or was it? It
Okay.
was shown on
Yeah,
Amazon,
now it's on
and it
Disney.
came out after. It was part of the MCU because we got to know the what's his name,
Coulson,
Greg, yeah,
Agent
Coulson,
Yeah,
Coulson.
yeah, yeah,
because we
yeah.
got
It
to
was
know
soon
him
after
through
the
the Iron
Avengers.
Man. We learned him through the Iron Man movies.
Yeah,
Yes,
it
but
was
then
after though.
the
It was
series
after
was
the.
after that, was it?
Yeah, yeah, because
It was
remember,
a spin-out.
spoiler alert,
Oh
he
yeah, yeah, yeah,
died
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in Avengers, and
Yes.
then he came back through
Spoiler alert. Yeah,
the whatever the man, not the Manhattan Project, the
Haiti.
Malibu,
yeah,
the Tahiti.
Haiti.
I was going to say the Malibu Project.
yeah.
So anyway,
Agents of Shield started in 2013,
Okay,
and I think that was just after the Avengers, which was 2012. So
but
yeah,
it was a kind of spin-off, but it wasn't necessarily canon, was it? There was like it wasn't like the later Disney shows.
it was canon, and then they kind of drifted away from it and let it do its own thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've ever truly resolved
well, no, I think they have. So originally it was canon. It followed on um,
Avengers and
Avengers.
and then they had problems with sort of lining up the storyline of Agents of Shield with what was going on in the Marvel universe because things are planned too far in advance, and they couldn't work out what was movies sort of can change dates and TV can change dates. They couldn't really plan it well in terms of tying them in with each other.
I mean, they linked it to
And
Civil War. Remember, they tried to link it to Civil War.
well, yeah, they did. They
Yeah,
did, but they stopped trying after a couple of seasons, and
yeah.
then effectively took the Agents of Shield away from the world. So they did one in the future and a
Oh
season in.
yeah,
So they
yeah.
did a season in the past. They did a season in in a virtual world, and they did a season in the multiverse, and
And
so
then
they
the
basically
past
they
as
just
well.
they yeah, the one in the past. The only time that I saw a link, I think, maybe in season four, which came out around the time of Infinity War and Endgame, was you can see when they're back on Earth in present day, you can see TV screens in the background showing a news feed, which looks like it's from Infinity War and the sort of Thanos invasion, but they didn't really mention it. But you could see it going on in the background. But other than that, they kept it separate. At one point, I think they said it wasn't canon, and then once all the multiverse stuff kicked in, they basically said everything was canon. So
Anything goes.
brought it back
Yeah,
in.
anything goes, anything
Right.
goes. So,
So now we
um,
can move on. We can now move on.
yes, now we can move on to phase two, which for the audience is Iron Man 3 all the way to Ant-Man. So the movies in that are Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, which is obviously Thor 2, Captain America the Winter Soldier, which is as much an Iron Man movie as it was a Captain America movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think everyone got excited about, Avengers Age of Ultron, and then at the end of that, great movie, but it's funny to think that this was the end of a phase, whereas the previous phase ended with the Avengers. This one ended with Ant-Man,
Yeah.
um,
Well done.
which is maybe. I mean, you have to remember they're making movies. Sometimes the timing of these things are also production schedules when actors were available. So maybe they would have wanted to end with Age of Ultron, who knows? And Ant-Man came out later because it just came out later. But anyway, they're the movies that were in it. So Adam, some highlights.
Well, highlights definitely Guardians of the Galaxy. which it just felt very. I mean, what I loved about Marvel, and it, overall is just the comedy, and it's the slight wink and the slight fact it doesn't take itself too seriously. I really, that really got me into it. Like, I don't think if it DC always found takes it too seriously, so the comedy for me always a big part of the MCU, and Guardians of the Galaxy almost kind of doubled down on that in a way. It wasn't
Yeah.
like completely for laughs, but it
There's-
was
there's
very,
three-
very
there's-
different from your traditional superhero movie.
There's actually
Yeah, Carl.
three. Well, there's actually three funny films in that, isn't there? There's Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, and Ant-Man. They're all pretty funny.
Thor: Dark World wasn't funny.
Oh no, that was the other one,
way.
wasn't it?
No,
Yeah,
that was.
yeah, it's
I
the next
mean,
one I'm
Dark
thinking of.
World. It's in the title. It was still
Is it
quite
dark?
dark.
It's
It
dark.
was still
is it?
quite dark, and
Well,
I
yeah.
think it was
Yeah,
pretty.
Thor: Dark World was even more serious than the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
Oh,
one.
I'm thinking of the third one.
And
That's fine.
yeah. The third one's a start to lift it a
really
bit, but
silly.
yeah,
Yeah,
Thor:
yeah.
Dark World was even more serious, as Stephen said, than the first Thor. It really doubled down on that.
Yeah. The two
Iron Man
comedies,
3.
the Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man. And obviously the Avengers movie isn't a comedy, but there's always a bit of
There's
banter.
always comedic parts of it, isn't there? I mean, I remember being really after Avengers Assemble. I remember being really excited for Avengers: Age of Ultron, and I remember being slightly disappointed. It didn't quite land like Avengers Assemble. I don't think.
It's my least favorite Avengers film.
Yeah, it's like I was really excited about it, but it didn't
Yeah.
yeah
I mean,
hit
I
the
love
same
James
way.
Spader, but I'm just didn't feel that it was a particularly great film. Really, I just felt it was a bit.
I know Ultron's getting weaved in to become we're seeing Ultron comes back when we've got like the next Vision's coming back, and we've got we're gonna have Ultron coming back. But Ultron seemed to me as kind of, rather than they were kind of had this serious thing and they were leading up to Thanos and some bigger story. Age of Ultron just was like the typical kind of superhero. Okay, new film, new baddie, defeat. New big baddie comes up in the beginning of the film and then defeated at the end of the film. It kind of felt a bit like back to a formula where they'd sort of been alluding to something bigger, whereas Avengers: Age of Ultron, I felt sort of took it back to more traditional storytelling, superhero
Yeah,
story.
but they were both Guardians of the Galaxy and Age of Ultron. By the way, I agree with everything you said on both those movies. But Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers of Ultron were the movies that started to set up what was happening in the latter phases, in particular with the whole sort of Thanos thing in Phase 3. Guardians of the Galaxy introduced Infinity Stones for the first time.
Yeah.
Although we had technically seen them in Thor: The Dark World and in the Tesseract, but in the Avengers and Captain America: The First Avenger. But really, that was the first time we knew what they are. Guardians of the Galaxy, we see it's all about that Infinity Stone. Avengers: Age of Ultron is the one where the Scarlet Witch puts them all into, like, gives them all a vision of the future.
Oh, yeah,
and they're all in
that's
like
true.
this sort of dream world, and
Yeah.
and Thor in particular just sort of sees the stones and
He's having a bath. I think he's having some kind of bath in his vision, is he not?
don't remember a bath. I
He's
remember
he's
Infinity
in the
Stones.
water with like one of the stones, and
Maybe.
Isn't it when unless it's earlier, isn't it when Tony Stark starts getting visions about
yeah.
what's
Tony
coming?
Stark's visions
And also Age of
invasion.
Ultron is kind of setting up Civil War, because actually, again, it's almost like an Iron Man movie, really, because it's all about. I mean, who creates Ultron? It's all
Sokovia
because of
Awards.
his ego and all of this
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. You know what I mean? So, which leads to the disintegration of the Avengers. So it has a plot. So
Does
yes,
have yeah.
the enemy, I agree, isn't you could argue isn't Avengers worthy, maybe.
Yeah.
But it serves a purpose because it sets the Avengers up on
Yeah.
failure, actually.
Yeah.
Even though by the end of it they've beaten the baddie, they've essentially there's a sense of disunity already. Iron Man 3, guys. Any again, we're not reviewing it, but was that a highlight or low? I think it's the worst Iron Man movie, personally.
Iron Man 3, out of when I went back and watched all of the MCU catalog, which I did in lockdown, which I think is something we all did. I think it was the one movie that I'd watched half of but not watched the rest of, and it stayed like that for ages. I think then I was watching it again, and something happened, and I stopped watching it. So for ages, Iron Man 3 was literally the one MCU movie I just not even sat through all the way through,
That
which I
is odd.
think, you know.
That is odd because that's exactly the same for me, which
Oh,
maybe
really?
that's
Hang on,
starting
you've
to
not
tell a bit of
you've
the
still
story.
not watched it all.
I have
No,
watched
I
it all
don't think.
now, but it was ages
Um,
till I did.
I'm not 100% sure I have watched it all now because it was on again. I think my kids have watched it a couple of times recently, like in the last few months, and I've dipped in and out of it. So I think I've watched the whole film now, but
But
not
you
all at the
do
same
know
time.
that so so I agree that Iron Man 3 was the worst of them, but it did introduce to us Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery, although we originally thought and told you may still think he's the Mandarin, is that his name?
Mandarin.
Mandalorian.
Oh
Was
no,
it
I did. No, I did get as far
the
as knowing he was an
Mandalorian?
No,
actor.
not the
Yeah,
Mandarin.
Mandalorian.
It's the
Can't remember.
The
Mandarin. No,
Mandarin. The
No, it wasn't the
Mandarin.
it's the
Mandarin. It wasn't the
Mandarin.
Mandarin.
And
Um,
he's in the next. He's in that that new TV show coming out, the Wonder Hero thing. If for those of you seen the trailers, he's back in that
yeah,
character.
and
yeah,
again, he was in Shang-Chi as well.
Yeah,
And he's in one of the there's the Marvel one shot, so those little short stories. He's in one of those as well,
yeah,
actually.
he's
But,
oh
great.
yeah,
he's
yeah.
brilliant.
So for
Apparently.
me, Tony Stark's funeral did not hit as hard because I was like, "Who is this? Who is this young man at the end? Oh, it's the kid from Iron Man 3." You know, that was a big reveal that young adult
Oh
who was
yeah,
there was actually the little kid from Iron 3. That didn't hit hard for me because I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I've actually watched Iron Man 3." So
Well, but I had watched it, but still, he was a little boy in Iron Man
yeah,
3.
yeah, he was the
You know,
boy in
so it's
Iron Man
like
3.
I think everyone was watching it going, "Who the hell's that standing
Yeah,
there?"
yeah, yeah.
And
But everyone had
I see.
that moment. Oh, he's the kid from Iron Man 3. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I don't think I've seen that.
So moving us on a little bit. I mean,
Can I just say one more thing about Guardians of the Galaxy because
I want to say
I
something.
know we've already covered it. Guardians of the Galaxy did something amazing, which, and I know we'll talk about Fantastic Four on a later episode, but Guardians of the Galaxy introduced to us out of the blue a whole team of brand new characters,
Yeah,
which included like an idiot called Star-Lord, a talking raccoon, a tree.
yeah,
A whatever Drax was, and a green girl and a blue girl, right?
yeah,
If you'd said to somebody, "I'm going to see a film, it's got this," you'd be like, "What the hell is that? What are they doing?" Like, I
yeah,
don't know how they pitched this thing to them because it just to Marvel when they were coming up with this idea for this movie. Obviously, came from the comics, but it sounds crazy and it sounds like it would never work. But they did it so well that
yeah,
we immediately fell in love with all of these characters, all of them, including the tree and the raccoon, like crazy.
yeah,
It was a
yeah,
great movie. It was really funny, but they created these amazing characters. When I compare that to Fantastic Four, I
yeah.
that was a good movie, but I don't love those characters, right?
No,
They
they
brought
weren't
in
as
new
likable.
superheroes, and I don't really care about them yet. But yeah,
But
that's what Guardians of the Galaxy did so
Chris Pratt kind of did a Robert Downey Jr., didn't he? He was
yeah,
just like amazing to what he just like
perfect
embodied the
person.
role, didn't he? And you
but
just
yeah.
wanted to
but
watch it.
also we've discussed this when we discussed the more recent Star Trek TV shows. Is again, we're not going. I don't want us to digress into Fantastic Four, but they're Fantastic Four are meant to be like this near perfect family. Essentially, only the brother is a bit cheeky, all right. But what's great about the Guardians of the Galaxy is they're all irreverent. They're not PC. You've got the dumb one, the brute. I've forgotten his name, who just says things
Yeah,
as they are.
but it
And then you've
is.
got yeah. So it's got that play, which I think actually people like.
You were saying you said that it's easy to get you to love sort of like not necessarily the bad guys, but the cheeky guys, right?
Yeah,
The Star Lord and the Raccoon um, and you are right to a certain extent, but you can still have a great character that's a nice guy and that's politically correct. I mean, just look at Captain America, right? Everyone loves Captain America, and he is the perfect nice guy, right? So you can make it work. And so that, but they didn't make it work with Fantastic Four. I didn't walk away loving any of those
yeah,
characters.
yeah. But Captain America's then playing against people who are not nice guys, and
He's the straight guy,
like Nick
isn't he?
Fury. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so he's Teflon guy against all these other people who are not. Whereas Fantastic Four, obviously,
Oh,
they're meant to be all like the royal family, the perfect family. But the Guardians of the Galaxy also the effects. because when we'll be in our next show, but as we get further into the phases, I think we may start to criticize some of the production work as well. The production work in Guardians of the Galaxy is tremendous. I mean, even when you watch it today, because I know it feels modern, but it's, it's quite a few years old now. It's over 10 years old. When you watch it, the effects on it are better than many movies released today, in my opinion.
Although,
The what's it, the world is that whatever, all the worlds actually, all the worlds they're on, it feels really good, and it doesn't feel like they're just running through a green screen. And I think it's a really movie. But one thing I will, as we end on this phase. Obviously, I made a comment how it didn't end on a bang; it ended with a comedy. Ant-Man, were you guys a surprise that they brought that character into the universe, and did you enjoy it, Tal?
I think it's a great film. I think it's really, it's honestly, it's really stood the test of time. Again, I've watched it quite a few times since, and I think, yeah, I think it's brilliant. I mean, yeah, he's great. Again, he's a great character. I like his the Mexican guy that he sort of plays against that does
Yeah,
when they do the when
yeah,
they do the things about they're talking about what happened, and he's like
yeah,
saying, "Oh, then I spoke to him," and and he does all the
yeah,
voices and everything. It's brilliant. It's like it's just again really good characters, and in terms of special effects, you can't beat the Thomas the Tank Engine, giant
yeah,
Thomas the
yeah.
Tank Engine falling out of the house. That is just like probably I reckon some of the best special effects you'll see anywhere really.
And how
Uh,
much did they pay for permission to use Thomas the Tank Engine? I
yeah.
wonder. Someone did well out of that. Also, the other thing in there is
Michael
I don't
Penner
know the
is
name
the
of the
guy.
character, but you got the policeman,
Yeah,
the
he comes back in it, doesn't he? The
well,
policeman, because he
he's
then,
in Wonder.
yeah,
On
yeah.
edition, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael
Yeah,
Penner is Lewis, who's the character that he is one of his like Ant-Man's best
Mate,
buddy.
yeah.
Yeah, that he brings along.
Yeah,
That's
there's a I saw a thing where in Ant-Man, in the first Ant-Man, he sees Paul Rudd, he sees Ant-Man doing a card trick, and he's like really impressed. I think it's at the point where he's like trying to arrest him or something, and he sees him do this card trick. He's like, "How do you do that?" And then in the next Ant-Man movie, you see the policeman in his office in the police station practicing the card trick. And then I think finally in WandaVision, you see him actually successfully doing the card trick. So
yeah. The character's Randall Park, I think, and
Randall
it's
Park.
Jimmy Woo is who's the actor who plays
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, look out when you're watching those movies and TV shows again. Look out for the for the card trick. It's one of those like little Easter eggs and sort of subtle things.
Oh no, I've got that the wrong
Um,
way around.
the thing I remember about Ant-Man is it was I think it was the first of the Marvel movies that I watched at the cinema with my whole family. And I think my son was probably yeah. I'm just looking at the dates, and my son was like 9 maybe, and my daughter was like 4 or 5. But all four of us, my wife and my kids, we all went to cinema and watched it, and we all loved it. And so that was like quite a nice moment for me, because it was a really good family movie as well. You didn't really need to have watched anything that had come before either, which
yeah.
made it good. And it
It
was
felt for some reason, I don't know why. I don't know whether it was because of the ants or and also maybe it's a bit like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and all that kind of stuff. But it felt like a film from when we were kids.
Mm.
I think
Yes.
it felt like that.
Yes, I know what you mean. I think Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or even younger movies. I mean, obviously it was CGI, but it even had, I don't know, things like elements of Sinbad with the giant ants, all that kind of stuff. So yes, it felt fantastical in a very innocent kind of way, and
Yeah,
I think it's a very happy for it's not a woke PC film. It's a nice feeling film, but it's just nice smiley people trying to do right in the world, but they're not all they're imperfect people actually. He's a robber after all, isn't he? He's a burglar. So his whole character is set up to be a nice guy, but who actually isn't the perfect role model either. Adam.
I just have to correct myself because the character is Jimmy Woo, the actor is Randall Park. I think I said it the
Okay.
wrong way round, and that's
No
bad.
problem. No
So I
problem.
just felt like I needed to correct that.
We're going to bring this episode to an end because obviously this is quite a marathon, and we've got 1, 2, 3 more phases to get through until we get to the next one, which is phase 6 with the Fantastic Four. One thing I will preview though is the next phase, which is phase 3, goes from Captain America: Civil War all the way through to Spider-Man: Far From Home. But there are tons of movies in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think unless I've miscounted, there's something like 10 or 11 movies in it, all released between 2016 and 2019. So essentially 3 years. And I think it'll be interesting to discuss whether phase 3 and maybe even phase 4, we think if it started to dilute or affect the quality of what was being put out, because that is a huge leap compared to phase 1 and phase 2.
Well,
I think phase 4 had even more.
Yeah, I would say phase 3 is the high watermark. After that, I think that's the discussion.
Well, I think on that cliffhanger, we will pause on the high water mark until we get to our next show. So, Tal Silverman, I'd like to thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me again.
You're welcome. Adam Leach, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
And Simon, in your captain, I mean, I almost couldn't tell the difference, like your 2-year-old nephew or niece. Thank you for joining us for more 4 Men in a Wormhole.
Thanks, David, and thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
To all of our listeners, this is 4 Men in a Wormhole. Please join us for the next episode where we once again crack on and work out where we got to and how we got here in the Marvel Universe. Thank you for listening.
4 Men in a Wormhole!